Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Mama Knows Best series, where I will be featuring mamas who know best, who will uncover, illuminate, and share various ways to simplify and elevate the mom life. The motif, or the thread, if you will, that is laced through the various topics that will range from productivity to creativity is identifying and honing in on the magic in the mess. We all know that motherhood is fucking messy. It is also fucking magical, right? Not always an equal measure, but quality, not quantity. And one way to augment the magic is to embrace the messy. Finding the magic in the mess will ground you and transform you. It is commonplace and transcendent at once. The mom life struggle, the mom life juggle is real. The nap time hustle is real. For real. When you're doing all the things, you need some clarity, some inspiration, some encouragement, some fierce motherfucking support. This is to mother you, mama. So let's get messy and find some magic. All right. So I am so thrilled and honored to introduce to you my guest for today, Alana. Let me tell you a little bit about Alana. Alana is an amazing boss mom. She is a hybrid teacher, mother, designer. Alana is on a mission to create inspiring spaces and experiences for kids to live, learn, play, and grow. Her playful designs and hands-on learning experiences reflect the values and habits and attitudes that all of us wish to instill in our children. Those are values such as curiosity, creativity, problem solving, cooperation, independence, responsibility. Alana's mantra, and I love this so much, Alana's mantra is artful teaching, joyful learning. And she weaves that into everything she does. She weaves that into her play spaces, into her educational models. She weaves her love for the arts into designs for living and learning with her children at home, at her school, with other educators, and with homeschoolers worldwide. So I am going to pass it over to you, Alana, now. And I would love for you to share what you do, first of all, and how you came to doing what you do, because I think that you pull so many different pieces, and that is something that resonates with me so much as a multi-passionate entrepreneur, and I know that you are absolutely multi-passionate. I would love to hear about how your journey into doing what you do today and really living all your passions of education and design and motherhood.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for such a nice introduction, Dana. So I think the seed was planted around, I'm going to say 12 years ago. I had taught in an inner city classroom here in Winnipeg for a number of years prior to my life having children. So I was a public school teacher, and it all sort of started one year when I was given a brand new classroom space for my new group of students. But the only room that was really available in the school was this sort of dingy old staff room, circa back when the days that teachers were allowed to smoke in school. So it was smoke infused, yellowed kind of linoleum. It was just a dingy, drab, depressing space. And I thought right then and there, I wanted to create something so special and so beautiful for those kids, many of whom had very, very challenging home lives. I wanted to create just a safe, nurturing, beautiful space for them. So that summer, I took it upon myself to seek out donations, and I bought plants, I bought drapes, I brought in all kinds of really cozy textures and warm colors. Fast forward a few months, and I saw my students just start to thrive. And, they were coming to school every day. In many cases, these were kids who were often truant, not coming to school, high rates of absenteeism. these kids were coming so excited to learn. I started to really teach through, I love it. This is motherhood.
Oh my God. I tell them, don't interrupt me for the next hour. And this
Oh, aren't you beautiful? Bringing you lunch.
Aesthetics and designs.
Lovely. Wow, well done. That's an artful platter if I've ever seen one.
Thank you so much. No, don't interrupt me. I love you.
I love it. I love it.
Otherwise, I'd be just going like this the whole time.
Yeah. That is raw and beautiful. So nice. Where was I here? Yeah, so I had always had this love and passion for the arts. I had done my master's in arts education and sort of always wanted to weave that into my practice as well. But that coupled with the environment, bringing that to life, I just saw such tremendous changes in my kids. And these were students who were, in most cases, just two generations removed from residential school. So school was not a happy place for a lot of them. It was certainly not a happy place for their parents or grandparents. But that year, I just witnessed such tremendous, profound change. And I thought, geez, there's something to be said about this whole environment as third teacher. Mm-hmm. So 2 years later, we went on to have our 3 kids, and in a very short period of time. So there was no room left for me to go back to the public system. And there was, quite frankly, a lot of stuff that was happening in our public education that was a little disheartening. It was kind of wringing out that joy that I once had for teaching. It was all about assessment and about, reporting and benchmarking and things like that. And I was at a place where I just didn't need that in my life. And so I decided to stay home with our 3 girls and created a little tiny business designing spaces for kids from an educator's perspective. Mm-hmm. So I did that for a couple of years, and while I've enjoyed it a lot, I just really miss that teaching component. So I decided to start up my own little private school, and it's kind of a homeschool model. So my youngest is in kindergarten this year, and so she'll be one of my students. And so it's happening right here in my home. I'm going to be taking on a very small group of children, teaching basically through the cornerstones of what I believe is the hallmark or the cornerstones of a good quality education for the early years, which is play, inquiry, the arts, and nature exploration. So I started that little school. It's to be launched this fall. It's called Briante Beginnings. And I'm really excited. I'm excited to start documenting what we're doing and sharing with the world all of these strategies, because I'm on a mission to transform education in the early years.
How many children will you have?
I'm able to take in 5 in total. So, and if we only have a few, I had a number of kids registered, and then unfortunately, a couple pulled out because of a conflict in school schedules. So I'm still working on getting to my 5, but, even if it's just a couple of kids and I can make that difference and really document, their learning and sort of the strategies that we're doing, and even teach others, teachers, even Northern moms, how to sort of have this really play-based, artful kind of program for their kids to inspire learning, then that's what matters to me. I want to make that, I want to really help others and really transform how education's done for our young kids.
I love that. I think it is so important. So I don't know if you know this, but I actually come from a background in education.
Okay, tell me.
So I did my B.Ed, my UBC in Vancouver, and my background was in my practicum was high school English. So
oh wow, okay.
But I was I had the good fortune of being in a I forget the terminology that they used back in the education program, but it was I was in a group that was both theater and English. It was like English theater mixed. Okay. And I also have a background in theater, so it was perfect for me. But one of the things that I really that I brought to my teaching and that I was so passionate about, and it was incredible to see how it played out in the classroom, was a drama-based approach to learning, like both arts and drama-based
yes.
learning. Yeah.
And love it.
And so, yeah, I just wanted to share that with you because I think it's the whole idea of playful learning is so important and so effective. I think it's
Really, yeah.
personal.
Yeah.
And the other thing that you mentioned that I thought was really interesting about designing spaces, and I actually just read something today about it, is about transforming. So often we hear that we need to transform our inner space in order to transform the outer space. And I think that there's also something to be said for the other way around, that there's something for transforming our outer spaces and how that will affect our inner space. And I think
Absolutely.
that's something that I hear in the
Yes.
work that you do.
Yes, yeah. Well, in a Reggio, I'm sort of very highly influenced by this Reggio Emilia philosophy or approach to early learning. And they actually do call the environment the third teacher. So, children are co-learning not only with other adults and each other, but they're learning amongst their environment, and it's really responsive to what they're interested in and their curiosities and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Amazing. All right. I would love if you would be able to share a few little bite-sized sort of actionable steps that we can take in order to create more artful, playful spaces that really engender this joyful learning.
Okay, sure. So one of the things I like to always start with is really challenging our image of the child. And so in a sort of Reggio inspired approach, we really see the child as capable, full of tons of potential, you know, children have a lot of knowledge already. And so we design our environments to honor that, and to also honor their many ways of knowing. So we know that, kids often can communicate so much more than they can actually say. So giving them the tools to be able to communicate in a variety of languages, whether that's the arts or in your case, drama with puppets or storytelling devices, musical instruments, and having those tools be accessible and also beautifully presented. So seeing things from the child's perspective and really looking at how are we inviting children into those worlds? And I'm thinking in my head right now, plastic tubs versus beautiful glass jars with, art materials displayed so beautifully and those colors shining through and children wanting to be invited into that world. Always having to ask for permission tends to hamper that creative process. So if you can give your kids within reason, I mean, not everybody's comfy with offering, tempera paints on the shelf free for all, but certainly having them within limits, presented in a way that really draws them in and they don't always have to ask for permission, which can be stifling. So that would be one way for sure, is to look at how we're really presenting those materials. Another piece that I really
that's what I would say. It was like, go outside. all the messy things outside.
There's ways to contain the mess, though. There's ways to contain it for sure. But another piece that I really believe in strongly is, honoring the children's art and having those pieces hang and really sharing, their artistic literacy, right? So, so those are just a couple of strategies I think that we could implement right away. So looking at the image of the child and what we believe about learning, and then of course giving them those materials to communicate and really honor their many ways of knowing.
I love that so much. Thank you for sharing that. And I love that. I love the way you ended that with really honoring them. It's like giving them the space to create.
Yes.
The freedom to create and then honoring that creation. That is,
right.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Thank you. Love that. So we all know you have three girls, right?
Yes.
And we all know that the juggle of life and work and kids is real. I wanted to ask you if you would share if there is something that eases or facilitates your juggle and gives you a little more equilibrium in your life.
Mm-hmm. So for me, I think that what I do is really fueled by my kids. So I'm always creating for and with them. So those opportunities, those experiences that I'm creating are for my children. I'm sort of honoring them. Now, I kind of worry about how that's going to dry up once they kind of grow up and move out. But right now, that's what's really fueling me and providing my balance, because I know that when I'm in that creative zone, then I'm in my happy place. That said, they're not all about creating all the time. I have one very sporty, athletic kid and you know what, we go out in nature a lot. We get outside, and so it's just all about finding those little pockets of joyful moments and really just, I don't know, just like harnessing those. And, we all get tired. You're in the throes right now with little ones. And like, I'm finally just in that, I'm out of the weeds and I'm able to get that a little bit more sleep, although our sleeping patterns at night are like crazy, but I'm able to at least get a little more sleep. So I wake up feeling a little more energized and fueled in that. But I think that for me, it's really about satisfying my passions, I guess, and my joys in order to then fulfill my kids' needs and desires and joys as well. So.
Mm-hmm. That is lovely. It's funny. I oftentimes find myself just observing things that go on with my kids, and somehow transforming those observances into lessons. And it's amazing. Like, it amazes me time and time again. I just find it remarkable how much we can learn from our kids.
Oh, so true. And that's really at the heart of what we're trying to do. I mean, when we can really slow down and really be present with our kids and really observe and notice them for who they are and what they're interested in, what they're curious about. For me, that is the ultimate way to kickstart learning. I mean, we all learn what we're curious about. We don't learn, we're not vessels to be filled with other people's, knowledge. We truly do want to connect with what we're interested in, what we're curious about. So if we can just slow down and look at our kids and notice them and just be present, they're amazing little creatures.
Absolutely. And there is so much to be learned, so much to be gleaned from.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I find even in the messiest, most frustrating, most, chaotic moments where I feel like I am just losing my effing shit.
Yes.
All of a sudden, something will happen. Like, one of them will just crack up laughing or something, and it just immediately lightens the situation, and you realize, like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
we can laugh about this together.
Yeah.
Like, there's just always that time and time again. I notice that there's just some little magical moment in the midst of all the mess. That is.
That's the key, is to find those moments. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have to share a little on an aside there where you, just shared about those moments. Well, I had a moment today. So I don't know if you know what water beads are, or Orbeez. They're those little tiny they're little tiny beads that I guess once you add water to them, they expand, but they're little water saturated. Essentially, they look like oil, those oil bath beads or whatever. So they swell up, but they're incredibly bouncy. Okay. So my daughter must have dumped about a container full into a huge bowl soaking with water. And my youngest today, just this afternoon, tried to carry this giant bowl of water beads down the hall. Well, the entire thing spilled on the floor. Water beads went bouncing like mercury balls all over the house. Like, we're talking like 1,000 of them.
Oh my God.
So yeah, it was a moment, let me tell you. So an hour later, though, we were having that sort of laughing moment, but in the heat of it, oh my goodness, I was like, oh, this is not how I wanted to spend my afternoon. But yeah, we're all there. We all have to, figure our way through.
I think it's also embracing, leaning into whatever it is that comes up for us, even if what's coming up for us is like frustration and, you know, like anger sometimes, like even it's leaning into those emotions and not suppressing them. I think that also teaches our kids that we too, like, we're human and we're in this together with you. We are learning together, right? I mean, I notice how I notice the conversations that I have with my daughter after, the conflict.
Yes. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. So I feel like we shouldn't push away those negative feelings, but really like let ourselves feel them and then move beyond them to the feelings that are, and that's where the learning happens, to the feelings that are like, hey, let's connect, let's talk about this, let's process this, let's unpack this,
Absolutely. That's that whole emotional literacy that I don't know that I had growing up. And now I'm recognizing how important it is to really feel that anger and let yourself feel it, right? And then you can talk about it. So, yeah.
You can see that we're human and we're fallible also, right?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. The last thing, we're gonna wrap up soon, but I just want to ask you. I feel like you've already given us so many pearls and nuggets. But what is one of the most impacting lessons learned along your mompreneur journey? It could be something you've learned from your kids, or something you've learned.
Okay.
In the space of balancing motherhood.
Yes.
Your hustle.
So I don't know if you're familiar with the work of Angela Duckworth, but she wrote a book called Grit, and she has like a very famous TED Talk. And, all of her research is centered around perseverance and grit, tenacity, all of those things that, that really ultimately help our kids to push through those hard, challenging times. And for me, it's been all about grit and holding on, because you know what, man, as an entrepreneur, there are so many ups and downs, so many times when I just wanted to like say, I quit, like I'm done, like nobody wants this. Why am I doing this? But something inside of me keeps pushing me forward and propelling me. And I just feel like I have so much to offer. And I just want to match that passion that I have for teaching others to an impact in the world in some way, and hopefully that children and families will receive that. And so hanging on to that helps push me forward. So I think for me, it's about grit and tenacity.
Alana, that is so fucking beautiful. So powerful. That is going to help push me forward. Thank you. Thank you.
You're so awesome. Yeah.
Thank you. That is like the perfect place to end. Just push forward.
Yeah.
Where can we find you?
So online, I love to hang out on Instagram, and my account is briante.design. And gosh, looking back, that company name may not have been the best choice. As my husband warned me.
Spell it out for everyone. It's BRILLIANTE.
No, there's no I. LLANTE.
BRILLANTE. Okay.
Yes, .design.
Okay.
And it's an Italian word. And as I mentioned, I was very influenced by the Italians' Reggio Emilia approach. So that's where that comes from. But it's gotten to me in a bit of trouble. So that's where I kind of hang out and share most of my inspiration for others.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So much, Alana. Thank you so much for sharing with us.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on your program. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you all who are joining us along this journey. Let's lean into the mess and find some magic. All right. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Dana. Bye-bye.